The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand at the forefront. Good morning. I am Attorney Karen Jimeno. The Makabayan Bloc has filed yesterday another impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. This is the second impeachment complaint in a span of 5 days. Unlike the first complaint, which had 24 articles of impeachment, the second focuses solely on the Vice President's alleged misuse of confidential funds in 2022 and 2023. How confident is the Makabayan Bloc that its impeachment complaint will be endorsed by Congress? Joining us on Zoom is former Congressman from the Makabayan Bloc, Atty. Casiño. Good morning, Congressman Teddy.
Good morning, Karen, and good morning to your viewers.
Congressman Teddy, perhaps you can give us an overview of this second impeachment complaint. Why do you think was it necessary for the Makabayan Bloc to file the second impeachment complaint?
Well, it was necessary because we felt that it was our duty to hold the high official like Vice President Duterte accountable for her wrongdoings. So we filed this because she betrayed the public trust. And we cited specifically 3 acts by which she betrayed the public trust. And this is an impeachable offense. And so she has to account for that.
Congressman Teddy, based on the first article of impeachment, there was already an impeachment complaint filed. So do you think it was not sufficient to have this first impeachment complaint and then just throw your support behind that first impeachment complaint?
Hindi naman. We felt that we were, because we've been preparing this for the last basically 2 months. And we felt that we had a very strong complaint. And we felt that there should really be a more focused complaint based on the strongest evidence to impeach the Vice President. So unlike the previous complaint, where they cited, I think, 4 or 5 grounds for impeachment, we focused on one, betrayal of public trust, and cited 3 specific acts, which are well documented, which are on the basis of law, really clear violations of her mandate as Vice President. So these are the issues surrounding the 612.5 million confidential funds that she used as Vice President and as Secretary of the Department of Education.
Congressman Teddy, I read through the first impeachment complaint and also the second impeachment complaint, which you filed yesterday. And just a comparison, I could see that there was a big difference. Like the first impeachment complaint had, as you said, 4 grounds of impeachment and 24 articles of impeachment, whereas the Makabayan Bloc's second impeachment complaint only had 1 ground, which was betrayal of public trust, and only 3 articles of impeachment. So do you see a weakness in the first complaint? Do you think that one of the grounds there also included among the articles of impeachment acts which were committed when the Vice President was still mayor of Davao City? Do you see those as potential weaknesses in the first impeachment complaint?
Not necessarily, Karen. It all depends on the manner of approach. I think the first complaint used what we could call probably a shotgun approach to the impeachment. Throw everything and just use whatever sticks. Kami naman, we are approaching it in a more surgical manner. This is not the first time that we have been involved in an impeachment proceedings. Panahon pa ni Erap, involved na ako sa impeachment, and we know there are some limitations as to how broad and encompassing your impeachment complaint can be. Especially now, there is that practical problem of time. Congress will be adjourning in having a recess in I think 2 weeks, and then there is an election coming up in May 2025. So there is that problem of a very short time for this case, for this impeachment to be deliberated on. And so we felt that mag-focus na lang tayo dun sa pinakamalakas. Because, to impeach an official, all you really need is one ground and also one article or one act. And if the congressmen and senators find it enough basis already to impeach, then that's it.
Congressman Teddy, was there any coordination between the Makabayan Bloc and also with Akbayan Partylist and their group, the group that filed the first impeachment complaint?
Wala. Although magkakakilala yung iba mga complainants, there were two separate initiatives. I think si Senator Trillanes, we thought that Senator Trillanes would be the one to file the first impeachment complaint. But apparently, it was a bigger group. Pero I don't think nag-usap yung mga legal teams ng dalawa to coordinate this.
Well, but now that
But,
yes.
my thinking is that the more the better. And if other groups want to file an impeachment complaint, they should. Because, this is a duty of every citizen to hold their high public officials accountable.
But now that you both have, those two groups have filed impeachment complaints, will there be coordination among those groups so that you can see, like, in terms of the progress and the legal strategy as well, that there could be more coordination and more efficiency?
Yes, of course. That will be a matter of course. But it will all depend on how the Congress will be treating these complaints. The Committee on Justice can one, either consolidate these two complaints, or they can pick and choose and pick just one complaint to bring to the Senate. All a complaint needs is 105 votes, or 1/3 of the Senate, 1/3 of the House, and that will be enough to bring this to the Senate. So it will all depend on the action that the House will be taking on our complaints.
But Congressman Teddy, you mentioned earlier the procedural and the operational considerations in terms of the timing, because Congress will go on break in December 20, and then they resume around January 16, I believe, and then of course,
Very short lang.
the re-electionists will be busy campaigning for re-election. So do you think that having more impeachment complaints and more grounds for impeachment might delay the process in terms of also having to study all the complaints and then deciding to consolidate and retaining and even deciding to retain which grounds among those that were filed?
Well, definitely, Karen, it's easier to hear a complaint that has only one ground and 3 acts compared to a complaint that has 5 grounds and 24 acts. And that's one of the considerations that we had, this problem of material time. We want to give the senators and the congressmen the opportunity to really study the case. So we felt a more focused approach would be appropriate at this point.
And President Bongbong Marcos previously stated that he's not in favor of filing an impeachment complaint against Vice President Sara Duterte. Was this taken into consideration before Makabayan filed this second impeachment complaint?
Let's just say it was noted. But, there is supposed to be a system of checks and balances, and the Senate and the executive are independent, co-equal branches. So it should not matter. But of course, it does matter in the real world. But we're banking on the duty of congressmen. Now that 2 impeachment complaints have been filed, it is their duty now to study these complaints, to look at the evidence, to look at the arguments, and make a proper decision. I think they have to do it within 60 days, or so. And we're hoping that when they read the complaint and they see the evidence, there is no other conclusion but to say that the vice president is impeachable or should be impeached. Ito naman if we are going to compare this to the regular judicial proceedings, ang gagawin ng House is probable cause. All that needs to be established in the House is probable cause, and it is really the Senate who will do a trial, who will hear the case. So I think kung probable cause lang ang pag-uusapan, the complaint has more than enough, gives the Congress more than enough basis to say that there is probable cause and bring the complaint to the Senate for trial.
And as they say, impeachment trials are a numbers game. Do you think that, in your opinion, you have sufficient numbers in Congress for this to go to Senate and then later on for you to get a conviction in Senate?
First of all, well, while it is a numbers game, that number has to be based on a more substantial principle, and this is the principle of accountability. And so you can't vote na masyado namang garapal na obvious na she is probably guilty and still vote against it. So as far as Congress is concerned, I think most of the congressmen are convinced that she has to be impeached. I mean, they have been hearing this issue of the confidential funds for several months now. So if congressmen will just vote on the basis of the facts and the evidence and on their conscience, I think it's easy to get 105 votes. It is in the Senate that there will be a challenge, but there is a process of hearing. So we are hoping that when the trial goes on, senators will eventually be convinced of our case.
In terms of substance, Kong Teddy, did the second impeachment complaint use the briefings and hearings of the Committee on Good Governance and Public Accountability that was held in the House of Representatives?
Oh, yes. Without those hearings, hindi naman lalabas yung mga documentary evidence and even the sworn statements made by even the Vice President herself. Unang pumutok itong issue last year during the budget deliberations, and even at that point, some people were already saying that she should be impeached. But you don't simply impeach on the basis of mere allegations or without proper evidence. So it had to take the investigations of the House for all these documents and evidence to come up. And when we felt that there was already enough to file a complaint with, we did.
And since the second impeachment complaint focuses on the use of confidential funds, is there no complication from a legal standpoint that the audit of the Commission on Audit is still ongoing or is not yet conclusive?
Oh, wala naman. These are two separate investigations or mechanisms of accountability. And impeachment is what they call sui generis. No? There can be an ongoing criminal complaint or investigation. Nandiyan ng COA. Congress can actually proceed with its investigation in aid of legislation. So these are separate mechanisms, and there's no problem with them simultaneously going on.
But isn't there going to be a conflict in case, well, for example, you have Senate sitting as an impeachment court using this as basis because they would have to hear the case and call for witnesses and also documentary evidence. And then you have COA undertaking its mandate to do the audit and have a different finding. You don't think that there's going to be a legal conflict in that sense?
No, I don't think so. Facts are facts. When COA, when the NSO, for example, says that there is no Mary Grace Piatos, there is no existing Mary Grace Piatos, the COA cannot say that there is, and neither can the Senate. So, same set of facts. Of course, there will be probably differences in interpretation, pero tingin ko hindi na malayo. No, when COA says that 73 million of the confidential funds are disallowed because they are not allowed to be, funds are not allowed to be spent on these items, I think the Senate cannot say otherwise because the circulars and the regulations are clear. So I think magtutugma-tugma rin. Just like what is happening in the congressional investigations now, the COA findings, in fact, are being upheld. Nadadagdagan pa yung nakita ng COA because COA medyo limited din ang kayang silipin ng COA. And I guess when this goes to trial, there might even be more evidence that can come up.
And Congressman Teddy, can you give us an idea how many complainants are there in this second impeachment complaint? And who is leading the legal team? We were supposed to be 75, but yesterday 3 of the complainants were not able to make it to the Senate because you have to personally appear before the Secretary General. So there are now 73 complainants, and this represents a broad spectrum of our people. You have basic sectors like farmers and workers. You have students, well, a lot of youth and students, even religious people are complainants. Former Congressman Nery Colmenares is what could probably consider as the lead counsel, and he's accompanied by attorneys in the National Union of People's Lawyers, and Attorney Rene Co, who is a nominee of the Kabataan Partylist, also serves as one of the lead counsels. Thank you so much, Congressman Teddy Casiño, and I hope that we can continue to get updates from you.
Anytime, Karen, and hope to be back in your show.
Thank you. Yes, in person, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
At the forefront, we'll be back after a short break. And when we return, we'll have Congressman Percy Cendaña of Akbayan.
Ciao, mabuhay. You are watching The Word Exposed.
Prepare our hearts as we dive deeper into our faith and receive the strength from God's Word. Join Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle as he shares the reflection we need for the rest of the week.
We pray that the Word of God would find fulfillment in your life and His blessings be always upon you.
Every Sunday, 7 a.m. with replays at 3 p.m.
Magandang gabi, ako si Corina Sanchez Rojas.
Magandang gabi, ako po si Pinky Webb.
Simulan na natin ang agenda.
Nasa radyo na, mapapanood, mapapakinggan.
94.7 FM.
Nahaharap ngayon ang Estados Unidos sa isa na namang 4 na taong Trump presidency.
Death squad rin yan. Binawi niya yung sinabi niya.
Ing masalimuot ang buwan ng Oktubre para sa ilang bilyonaryo.
Sa bawat issue may anggulo at ang balita may agenda.
This is Weather HQ.
Good morning. Welcome to Weather HQ. I'm Paulo De Rosario. Today's headline.
Get to know the latest weather update and forecast with information to help us understand important aspects regarding our climate.
Will help to prevent flash flooding.
To provide access to clean water and the system level services to everybody who needs it.
Kung alala po natin, ang northeasterly wind flow po ay malamig na hangin po.
Whatever the weather, here on BNC.
Weather HQ, 9 a.m. The Bilyonaryo News Channel. Beauty, health, adventure. This is for you. Join Marie Lozano where she uncovers the untold stories and unexpected surprises in the world of lifestyle.
We wanted to create a space where we could dive into these topics not just by talking to experts, but experiencing the topics firsthand. Let me tell you about the Lifestyle Lab.
On BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Welcome back at the forefront. And now we have with us via phone patch Akbayan Partylist Representative Percival Cendaña. Good morning, Congressman Percy.
Good morning, Attorney Karen.
Congressman Percy, so Makabayan Bloc filed a second impeachment complaint versus Vice President Sara Duterte yesterday. What are your thoughts on this, considering you already filed a first impeachment complaint?
Well, this is not the first time that something like this happened. If I remember correctly, nung panahon ng impeachment process kay Corona, parang dalawa din yung impeachment complaints na meron tayo. And we welcome the efforts of our colleagues from Makabayan dito sa pag-file impeachment, because this goes to show that there really is a clamor to hold the Vice President accountable for her abuse of power and her plunder of the coffers of the nation. And we also welcome this, that more people will get to be more aware of the process that we're going to go through and the grounds by which we want the Vice President impeached.
Okay. And was it a conscious strategy on your group's part to include a lot of grounds? You have 4 grounds for impeachment and 24 articles of impeachment. Considering the limited time that we have from now to the Christmas break of Congress, and then when everyone resumes in January, you have the elections in 2025 coming up. Was this considered as part of your strategy? Earlier, Congressman Teddy Casiño called the strategy or approach in the first impeachment complaint as more of a shotgun strategy, where there were several articles of impeachment. What was going on behind the scenes when you were preparing this impeachment complaint?
So when we talked to the citizen complainants, when they first presented to us the complaint that they had prepared, that's also one question that we have discussed. And the objective, I think, of the complainants when they included all these grounds for impeachment, the articles, is to show the scope of the abuses committed by the Vice President. So that's why we have 4 grounds of impeachment, because there really is a spectrum of abuses committed by the Vice President, ranging from culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, bribery, and other high crimes. So on the second point about the element of time, yes, the element of time is considered, but we also know that there is a process in the House of Representatives wherein it will go through the Committee on Justice, wherein later on the committee could serve as a platform to distill, especially now that they have to consolidate 2 complaints, as to which grounds will be included in the final articles of impeachment that will eventually be subjected to a vote in plenary and endorsed and transmitted to the Senate.
And Kong Percy, are you not worried that any of the weak articles of impeachment there would affect the credibility of the impeachment complaint? I was reading through the impeachment complaint and I noticed other grounds, like, for example, there were allegations there that related to events that happened during the Vice President's term as mayor of Davao City.
Yes. We also asked the complainants about that particular ground, or the particular grounds when they cited issues surrounding the incumbency of the Vice President when she was mayor of Davao City. And the way they explained it, the complainants explained, is that first, they're establishing a trend, a pattern of behavior. And second, they were also saying that how could you hold Vice President, then Mayor Sara Duterte, accountable when they were in power? She was mayor of Davao City and the president is his father. So this is how the complainants explained this to us. On the second point about these being weak grounds for impeachment, we feel that we let the Committee on Justice decide on that particular point.
Okay, so you're not worried that legally, when it comes to impeachment, the act should only relate to the office that is being occupied, where impeachment is sought for?
Well, not at all, because we look at the grounds, again, as a spectrum, as a scope of various misdemeanors, violations, and abuses that the Vice President committed. So not at all, Karen.
Okay. And in terms of the other allegations there were also, among the articles of impeachment, acts that related to, for example, a public meltdown in October 18, 2024, the Vice President's flight to Germany during Typhoon Karina, and also throwing a tantrum in relation to police personnel. Do you believe that these are impeachable offenses?
Well, if we take them as a whole in relation to, again, a pattern of behavior, which would include later on the biggest tantrum of all, when she threatened the President, the First Lady, and the Speaker of the House. What we want to emphasize here is that yung mga bata nagtatantrums, pero pag ang pangalawang pinakamakapangyarihan tao na ng Pilipinas ang nagtantrum, hindi na siya tantrum, grave threats na siya. So that is what the complainants, when they were describing this to us, wanted to outline in those particular grounds for impeachment, Attorney Karen.
And did Akbayan Partylist and your group take into consideration the statement of President Bongbong Marcos that he was not in favor of having an impeachment trial or impeachment against the Vice President?
Ayan. Yung timing ng statement na yun, that was a few days before we endorsed, and that was also during the height of the meetings with the complainant. And it was very clear to us that we answer to the people. We do not answer to the administration, or we do not answer to the center power in Davao. We answer to the people, and the people are demanding accountability.
And right now, so we have 2 impeachment complaints, and only 1 impeachment complaint would be endorsed to the Senate later on. Would Makabayan Akbayan also mind if the Makabayan version, which is more targeted, they only have 1 ground, betrayal of public trust, and they only relate to the confidential funds used for 2022 and 2023. Would that be okay with your group if, for example, only 1 ground is heard and only that article of impeachment or articles of impeachment relating to just the use of confidential funds is part of the complaint that goes to Senate?
We trust the Committee on Justice that they will make a fair and a justifiable decision as to what grounds will be transmitted to the Senate. But we hope that the Committee on Justice would also consider that, again, it's not about choosing which complaint will be forwarded to the Senate. It's about choosing which grounds will be forwarded to the Senate. So even in our complaint, we also have very strong allegations when it comes to the use of confidential funds. In fact, sinubukan ko ang computin, magkano ba yung pinag-usapang confidential funds dito? It's around 90 billion pesos. So talagang malakas talaga yung argument for the confidential funds. No? Pero how would you frame it? Mahalaga din na pag-isipan at iproseso yan sa Committee on Justice. And we hope that both complaints will receive its fair and thorough and just treatment in the committee when it's being deliberated.
Have you heard from anyone in Congress in terms of the feasibility of this complaint being acted upon within 10 days? Is that the period required?
Yes. According to the rules of the House and the Constitution when it comes to the impeachment process, upon filing, the House has 10 session days to calendar this in the plenary and refer it to the Committee on Justice. And we hope that we need not wait for the 10 days at sana ma-refer na ito agad.
But are you hearing anything from Congress right now in terms of updates, whether that would be possible?
And this is something that we will follow up with the Committee on Rules by Monday when session resumes.
And now that Makabayan and their group has also filed a 2nd impeachment complaint, are there efforts to now coordinate with them?
We thank Makabayan for their expression of openness to coordinate with Akbayan. At magkakatabi kami sa floor ng mga Makabayan representatives, and we hope that we can coordinate going into the Committee on Justice process. And hopefully even after that, when this goes to the Senate.
Is former Senator Laila De Lima part of your group that filed this first impeachment complaint?
Former Senator Laila De Lima is the spokesperson for the complainants, and possibly she would be the counsel for some of the complainants, for the citizen complainants. So that is formerly Senator Laila's role in our impeachment complaint.
Okay. And since we have the 2025 elections coming up, are you, your party list, or any of the people involved that might be running for 2025 worried about any potential backlash?
Going into this process, we know we are aware of the risks and costs that this could mean to our electoral campaign. But in the end, holding Sara Duterte accountable and holding any official accountable is foremost in the responsibilities of Akbayan and its core in terms of being a political party. So, alam namin yung peligro, pero at the same time, hindi natin dapat bitawan yung ating responsibilidad sa taong bayan na panagutin yung mga nang-abuso.
And when you were discussing with your group, have you ever done an assessment in terms of having the numbers in Congress and also in Senate to secure a conviction for this impeachment?
Yes, there were assessments, there were mapping, pero in the end, parang sabi natin, even if this is an uphill battle, we should pursue this because kung hindi natin ito gagawin ngayon, kailan pa natin siya gagawin? Some people are saying, mag-itay kayo after 2025 elections, pero will that also be the right time? Baka nagbago na yung alignment of forces and even yung dynamics by then. So, holding public officials accountable, tingin ko ang perfect timing para dyan is anytime. Whenever it is urgent and needed, kinakailangan siyang gawin.
And Kong Percy, just right now, you described it as an uphill battle. Why is that? Do you think you don't have the numbers in Senate?
In the Senate, we have yet to have a more definitive count. This is something that we are working on now, and hopefully when the process begins, we can have a more comprehensive campaign to make it a compelling choice for the legislators in the Senate to treat this impeachment fairly and to vote with their conscience.
Okay. And what is your message to fellow members of the House of Representatives on the impeachment complaint?
The House of Representatives in the past few months has exercised great efforts to expose the excesses, the abuses of the past administration and the Vice President in both the Quadcom and the Committee on Public Accountability and Good Government. The impeachment complaint is a natural and logical ending for that process because the Vice President has refused to cooperate with these processes. Hindi uma-attend sa Quadcom at saka sa hindi uma-attend sa good government, pero pag umattend naman, babasusin yung proseso. Tapos, kahit yung NBI, hindi siya nagpa-participate at hindi siya uma-attend, dinededman niya. So, kung ayaw niya at hindi siya nagko-cooperate sa mga accountability mechanisms na ito, panahon na para gamitin natin yung impeachment as a recourse for the Filipino people. Because in the end, VP Sara Duterte brought this upon herself when she refused to cooperate with these mechanisms of accountability.
And lastly, how many complainants are there in this first impeachment complaint?
In the first impeachment complaint, we have 16 complainants from civil society, mass movements, religious sector, and the academe. 16 brave souls.
16?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Congressman Percy Cendaña, and we hope to have you back here in person soon at the forefront.
Looking forward to that, Atty. Karen. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you so much. At the forefront, we'll return after a short break with Attorney Ray Cortez.
At BNC, 12 noon doesn't mean break. But
good afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, staunch Duterte ally Salvador Panelo believes Vice President Sara Duterte will be impeached. United Nations hailing the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah. Australia officially banning children under 16 from social media. And those are the news this hour. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
This is The Scorecard,
Where you score the latest sports news
and in-depth views. I'm Anton Rojas.
I'm Erica Christensen.
Get ready, be prepared, get to the latest stories, updates, and reports about what's happening in the world of sports. Hosted by Anton Rojas, Erica Christensen.
Where sports is our business and business is our sport.
The Scorecard, 9:30 p.m. on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
From Manila to the globe, this is World News Feed, bringing you the biggest stories shaping our time. I'm Rain Musni. Let's dive into the headlines making a global impact. In the world of business, expansion is inevitable.
So I was a serial dater.
Not just a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
You need fresh perspectives.
Different perspectives, different capabilities.
The sense of fulfillment, the sense of accomplishment. It's like you gave birth.
The relationships we have, how we treat our people, for me, that is the essence.
I'm Ces Orenia Drilon at ito ang Usapang Bilyonaryo.
Welcome back at the forefront. And we have with us via Zoom is the President of the National Union of People's Lawyers, Attorney Efraim Cortez. Good morning, Attorney Ray.
Hi, good morning po.
Attorney Ray, the NUPL is supporting the impeachment. Is that correct?
Yes po. We assisted in the drafting and the preparation of the complaint.
Which complaint did NUPL assist in? Is it the first or the second impeachment complaint?
The second impeachment complaint.
Okay. And what went into the decision to file a second impeachment complaint? Was there any consideration that the first impeachment complaint was not sufficient or had any flaws?
Well, that was never considered in filing the second impeachment complaint. The primary consideration is that there were many who wanted to impeach the Vice President, and so they decided to do so, and they know that there's no impediment in them filing a second impeachment complaint without consideration whether the first impeachment complaint was properly grounded or not. It's just that they wanted to file a second impeachment complaint.
Okay, and Attorney Ray, as a lawyer, do you see any problems with alleging acts that were committed when Vice President Sara was still a mayor of Davao City as part of the first impeachment complaint?
Well, since the basis for the ground of impeachment should be acts committed while he is sitting Vice President, I think the ground should be limited to those committed while she is the Vice President. That's why we do not include matters that were committed prior to her being elected as Vice President.
And on that note, how confident is the NUPL that the grounds that were alleged in the second impeachment complaint would be those that would be considered for the impeachment complaint that goes to the Senate?
Well, all of the grounds were based on evidence that were already disclosed during the several committee hearings in the House of Representatives. So the members of the House are already aware of this evidence, and these evidence are indicative of violations of auditing rules, and this violation of auditing rules also establishes that there were misuse of public funds. So I think there were evidence available to prove all of these allegations.
Will the NUPL be part of the prosecution team, the private prosecution team, if the impeachment goes to Senate and goes to trial?
We haven't made that. We haven't thought about that yet. But I think if ever, we're ready to be part of it.
And in terms of what the House of Representatives will do next when acting on the two impeachment complaints, have you heard if there would be any efforts to consolidate the two complaints.
We haven't heard of any effort to consolidate it, but we hope that it will be consolidated as one. So both complaints should be considered and brought to the plenary.
In terms of process, do you think that the 10 days to act on the impeachment complaints would be sufficient, considering the timing that we have the holidays coming up soon?
Well, many of the evidence, many of the allegations are based on evidence that's already been disclosed before the committees in the House of Representatives. I think it will be easier for them now to consider all of this evidence, especially the Makabayan or the Bayan complaint, since all of the evidence are with them already. I think they can resolve it with dispatch and within the period required, mandated by them by the Constitution.
Attorney Ray, some are saying that the timing of the impeachment complaints are off because of the upcoming elections. And of course, we also are dealing with the holiday break in between. What are your thoughts on this?
I think this is the proper time to file it. Anytime is the proper time, considering the misuse of public funds and other misdeeds of the Vice President. And the fact that election will never affect dependency of the impeachment, so we can file it even before the elections as long as it's filed already at the moment, so that she can already be held accountable for what she did. And it can be pursued anyway, even after the election.
And in your opinion, do you think that there is already enough numbers in Congress for the impeachment to progress?
We're hoping for that 105 congressmen will vote for it. And having been appraised of what happened during the committee hearings, I believe that there will be enough numbers of congressmen who are going to support this impeachment complaint.
Okay. And are you worried that, for example, this impeachment complaint does not get transmitted to the Senate by January next year, that there would be that 1-year ban wherein no impeachment complaint can be filed against the Vice President for a period of 1 year?
I don't think that the impeachment complaint will die with the adjournment of Congress. After it will adjourn, it will survive adjournment and will be carried on to the next Congress. I think that there are sufficient legal basis to support that. So we're not worried about it.
And you're also not worried about a change in composition in Congress and in Senate after the 2025 elections, as posing a legal issue when it comes to hearing this impeachment complaint?
That will be where we should worry about the changes in the numbers in both houses of Congress when the time that they will deliberate on the impeachment complaint.
So in terms of legal strategy, I know you said earlier that there's no better time to file it now because of public accountability, but in terms of legal strategy, would you think that filing the impeachment complaints after the 2025 elections would have been better from a procedural standpoint?
Well, from a procedural standpoint, better to start it now so that when the next Congress resumes, it will now pick up from where the last Congress stopped. So there will be no delay in the proceedings. The initial steps have already been undertaken. In that way, the impeachment proceedings have already started.
And finally, Attorney Ray, do you have any message to the members of the House of Representatives and to the Filipino people?
We appeal to them to vote based on their conscience and to exercise their powers as members of the legislature without pressure from the other branches of the government.
Thank you, Attorney Ray Cortez, President of the National Union of People's Lawyers. Thank you for your time today. The House of Representatives is obliged to process the 2 impeachment complaints for form and substance prior to getting endorsements from members in the plenary in any of the complaints before they transmit the complaints to Senate. Despite claims of wrong timing or haphazard filing, the proponents of the 2 impeachment complaints are determined that it will see through the process. Whether congressmen are in favor of impeaching the Vice President or not will be known within the next few weeks. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for meaningful conversations that would help you form an objective personal opinion. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.